Give me her.
Hi, I'm Shenequa.
And I'm Andrea.
And you're listening to So With This Ring. So this episode, before we even get into the episode, tell me about your week. How's your week going so far?
Oh, my week was interesting. If you've been listening to episode 2, you know that's my favorite word. But no, it was a productive week. I just had, just a lot happening. How was yours?
My week was definitely very trying. Because you know what, I didn't realize this until like after I listened to it, because even though we recorded, I still listened to it afterwards. And I realized that both you and Adriana mentioned like what you guys do, and I never mentioned what I did.
No.
And the funny thing is that somebody had made that question. So my answer, you, India, I'm a human resource professional. So I work within human resources, like the region of New York. So that's what I do. So it was definitely very trying. We have a couple of employees that was just not employing the way they're supposed to employ. So it was a little interesting.
Exactly.
It was a little interesting, but for the most part, everything died down a little bit. You know, I was able to go to brunch with like 2 of my friends.
Oh, nice.
And hit up had date night with hubby.
Oh, you did too. So did I.
Yes. I definitely got a chance to see the new Spider-Man movie.
Okay.
When I say that it was bomb, it was bomb. So make sure that you guys go see it. But it was a little weird being inside of the movie theater for so long.
Oh, you haven't? I've done it. It's actually it's interesting.
Really interesting.
It is. No, I say, and that's my favorite. I say interesting because people gave, not to get all sunny, like gave me like hell. Like you went to the movie theater.
Yes.
I sure did.
Yes.
Wear the proper PPE, mask on, everything, and enjoy it.
Yeah, so we were a little bit freaked out for a moment, but then after a while, like as soon as those lights got dim, and I got my little snack situation going, but like it was fine.
But you did the assigned seating though.
Yeah,
right?
we did.
We
did the assigned seating, and then it's just like every other seat is open.
So
it wasn't that bad. But I really was just like, but definitely Spider-Man: No Way Home. Gotta go see it.
She had that date night. I went out. Me and the hubs went out to eat and had some good drinks. We're from the Bronx. So we went to Havana, because I told you about Havana before.
Yes.
So it was some good music. I love anything that has some good music. And, fun fact, my family background is Honduran. So, listen to Spanish music. I love it. Just disclaimer. But not to keep going on and on, we also wanted to just give like a few more updates in regards to the fundraiser that we had going on for the youth. We did raise $250.
$250.
And that's amazing because I'm like, listen, we said it was only going to be for a week, but the good thing is we did speak with
the Child Center of New York, and they had actually asked us if we can extend it out. So, now it's not going to just be until the 17th that just passed. We're actually going to be doing it until January 2nd.
Okay, good. So that means you still have time to donate and contribute. The link is right there when you click on our Instagram profile. It takes you right to the link of everything. So definitely support, whether it's $1, $5, whatever you can. It will really help.
Definitely. And to everyone who has donated, liked, commented, and shared on their pages, thank you so much, because that's how we got to the 250. So we still have that $1,000 goal. So, we have it extended. So I'm sure that we will definitely hit our goal. But we thank you 100% for that.
Exactly.
All right.
So now the topic of today is, this is dating part 2. So thank you for those that listened to part 1. Yes. I appreciate the feedback. You guys were loving me and my energy. And honestly, it made me feel so good.
Yes, it did.
Because I am a whole vibe.
Yes, she is a whole vibe. Now she had set the bar high for me to, come on and speak about my experiences, which is part 2. So everything was on me. So
it is. It's on you, boo.
I know, like what I did.
It's on you, boo.
It's on me. The spotlight. Shine the light on me. It's on me.
Shine the light on. Hey,
shine the light on.
Sorry, we're going on.
I really can't. So it's on me. So, okay, I knew that this day was going to come where I was going to talk about my dating experience.
She was avoiding it.
I was kind of invited it. That's why I was just like, can we prolong this, in the very beginning a little bit longer? But, this is the purpose of it, for us to have a platform to talk about it. So, and everything is uncut, raw, just giving it to you straight. Yeah. So, I wanted to actually pose a question. So, Have you ever been like in a relationship where you had to ask yourself a question, whether or not you were in that relationship because you genuinely loved the person, you saw them in your future, or was it because of the fact that you got comfortable and didn't necessarily want to get yourself out there once again and begin dating? Have you ever questioned that before?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course, especially when you have long-term relationships, you always question that.
Exactly. So I kind of feel like everybody in certain points of their life has asked their question, and not even in a relationship kind of thing, but even in friendships and also in family.
Yes.
So, but now since we're just talking about dating, I figured like I wanted to find like a point of time where, this was a question that I was asking.
Okay.
So it was the relationship that I was in for like 8 years. And the first 4 years, it was dope. Like he checked off everything that I had on my list that I wanted for myself at that particular time frame in my life. But, let's face it here. So the person that we were and the things that we wanted 8 years ago is not going to be the same person that we are and are wanting now, because times change, we change as well. So, after 4 years, that year 5 trickled in, and it was a total 180-degree flip. And it was so fast, it was so abrupt. Like I was just looking around, like, okay, what's going on here? Like what's happening here? I was trying to decipher whether or not if it was like a dream or was it like live at New York? It's Saturday Night Live. Like,
oh my goodness.
Like if it was, this is real. Like this is what's happening here. And the shift was just so quick, and I don't think that I was really ready for it. So he just started acting differently, started moving a little bit differently, even started like dressing a little differently. Like everything had to be designer. Now keep in mind, I don't have a problem with that. I don't. At the end of the day, I wanted him fly. And what woman doesn't want their man to be fly?
Of course, but he was
he
just came out of nowhere, so he went from wearing like Carhartt to wearing Gucci.
Right. Like just so quick. And I was just like, what? But then the thing is, like, I didn't have a problem with that. The problem that I had is when he was trying to fashion me.
Oh no!
That's what I didn't like.
So fashioning, for those that don't know, is when somebody's trying to tell you how to dress and not telling you in a nice way.
Yes, like making it demanding.
Making it seem like you can't dress.
Right, not making it demanding. So once upon a time ago, going to the mall, that was just the thing. Like that was the hangout spot. So I remember him saying, "Hey babe, let's go to the mall, but I want you to dress up."
To the mall.
And yes. So when his mind was like dress up, he was just like, I want you to go get your hair and your nails done. I want you to get like a nice cute outfit, put on some heels.
Heels to the mall.
To the mall.
Was y'all going shopping?
No, we were just going to the mall to be seen. So I'm like, it's hard for me to get that to click. So I'm like, I'm doing all of this. We ain't going nowhere special. We're going to the mall just to walk around a 4-story mall.
This is in New York?
No, we're gonna get there.
Okay.
But just to go to a 4-story mall, just to walk around, just to be seen, and you're wanting me to get dressed up like that?
To get your nails and your hair done.
Yes. Now, a little context behind it. So, one, this was my first ever relationship that we're talking about, and I was open.
Okay.
Like open. Secondly, I'm fresh from New York. So I went out there for him. Like we started living in Baltimore, Maryland.
Okay.
And I went out there for him. So I'm fresh from New York where the uniform is jeans, sneakers, Timbs, refresh, repeat. Yes. Like heels were only for like a special occasion.
If we going to the club.
Right. But this ain't the club. This is going to the mall. And lastly, while, I did leave New York, just to gain some independence from my family, because like what I said before, my parents was like very strict. I really didn't have that much of a social life until like coming to a senior year in high school. Like one of the reasonings why I left to go out there was for him. So I picked up and left everything in New York to come to Baltimore with him. And basically, he's all I knew. I basically did everything that I could to make him happy. If that meant he didn't want me hanging out with other people, I did not do it. If that meant that he didn't want me going to the club or didn't want me drinking or dressing a certain way, I didn't do it. Only because I wanted to make sure that my man was good. So make my hand happy. Right, to a certain extent. So, again, year 5 is going along, and I'm just like, okay, there's a total shift. And then I'm looking at him like, my mans, when did you ever get a doctorate? Because why does it feel like I have to make an appointment to see you? Or why is it that, my calls are not going through so quickly? I gotta call you. Yes, and I'm calling you so many times. Why is it that my phone calls are only going to voicemail? But then here's this, we live together. Why are you coming home every single day late? And we're not talking about like 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. We're talking about like AMs, like pre-nights.
And
like
what time is job?
3 o'clock.
What time his job was over?
But here's the thing, like he was getting off like around regular 8 to 5.
Oh.
But then right after, I was like, I will see you momentarily. You would tell me you're going to the gym, and the next thing you come back, you take a shower, getting fresh and fly, and then you stepping out. And then you're coming home like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. So I was just like, I'm not really digging this. I'm not a fan of this.
Yeah.
So me back then, I was not a person that would want to be combative, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I'm going to tell you and explain to you the best way that I can. It's telling you like I'm not liking where this is going. If I talk to you and it just goes in one ear and out the other, then I'm going to go ahead and write you a letter. I was doing my Aaliyah 4-page letters. Yes. And I'm going to leave that for you to read. And if nothing changes, I'm going to text you. I'm going to send you an email.
You was leaving the letter to just leave it and was leaving? Like, leaving, like, I'm
here.
And
I'm sitting here. You know, like that meme with a girl, she's ready to go. She has her glasses on and she just sitting like this in the bed.
Okay.
That's what it was. I'm like, okay, so you're not going to hear me? I'm going to use another mode to get this resolved because we have an issue here. Okay. So I will let him sit, and I will sit there and purposely watch him read it. Okay. Because I need you to understand these are the things that I need. I'm needing to understand why you're doing this and why you're changing differently.
So you was communicating and expressing your feelings.
Right, because not everybody is like, some people need like a visual.
True.
Compared to like just hearing stuff. Because they say 60% of people, only 60% of what you listen to. True. That other 40% is just like out there. It's floating in the air like Shmoney when he threw his hat in the air and nobody can't find it. Right?
Sorry, I had to do the dance.
So, letting him know about this is going in one ear and out the other. So it's just like, okay, so now I'm starting to get depressed here. Oh, wow. Because I'm out here with you. I'm totally dependent on you.
You're
right. Dependent on you, your love, being around you, just dependent. You're my diary at this point. I'm not exploring or attempting to be with, any friends. And not to say that I didn't have any friends because, I have people from college that I was really good with, good and close with. I have my coworkers too now to this day. It's like my family. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it's not like I didn't have the opportunity to go out there and be with them and hang out with them. But I was very invested in a relationship. Hence why I've decided, okay, I don't want to have a long distance relationship with you. Go away. I want to go with you. Right? So, this is happening. I'm doing this and nothing is working. And then that depression is starting to turn into anger. And then that anger is starting to turn into, now I'm petty Betty. Oh. You're going to go out. Guess what? I'm going to go out too. And I'm going to make sure that I get cute. Yep. So you can see me walking out, and then that caused an argument. Now, in the back of my mind, I was laughing because I'm just like, it's because, I look good and you don't want me to go out. That's really what it is. And it wasn't a matter of me tooting my own horn. I was just trying to say, like, I'm pulling a you on you, and you don't like it.
And pay attention.
And all I need you to do is just understand where I'm coming from. Exactly. And you're not getting it. So now that I'm pulling a you on you, you're starting to get it. But at the same time, no. It was just playing tit for tat at this point. Yeah. I would go out, he would go out, probably not come back home a little bit later, like 8 o'clock in the morning. So now the depression turns into the pettiness, and now I'm enraged. Right? So it's like all these things that you're not doing as my significant other, where I'm bending over backwards for you to make sure you're good, and you can't even bend forwards, which is the easiest thing. Exactly. For me. I'm like, okay, now I'm second guessing whether or not if I should be with you, but it wasn't enough for me to call it a quits.
So even though, because I like to recap, so even though we kind of like saw the signs in a way, right, because of the changing up, everything of how he was acting, and then you even wrote a letter to express, and it said there still wasn't no changes after that. What made you still feel like after that, that you would decide to continue the relationship?
I have no idea. And I think it was just a matter of the fact of that comfort. Like the question I have posed, like in the very beginning, those first 4 years, I was just like, yes, this is it. Yeah. I love him 100%. I only see him in my life. But now going through all of this where I'm trying to express myself to you and you're not getting it, or you're getting it, but you just don't care. Now I'm like, okay, I'm still enraged. I'm still upset with you, but I'm not ready to let it go because I'm comfortable with you. I already made this change and this adjustment for you. And now I'm out here. So now I feel as though like if we were to break up, I'm out here alone.
So you're comfortable. You were comfortable with the situation, despite, honestly, because you saw it clear as day, it wasn't really working out.
It wasn't working out. And I knew that it wasn't working out. And other people around me, they was just like, you're walking around, you're looking sad. Which at that point, one person in particular, when I was coming into work one day, and he was just like, SG, why do you always look so sad?
Yeah. What?
And I was just, I don't know, I just happened to look into his eyes and I just started bawling, like breaking down, crying, literally exposed everything that was going on in my relationship, which I had not do it. And it just took for someone to ask me that question, but people were asking me, I don't know why this particular person did it.
Yeah.
Now, a little disclaimer, he did have a little thing for me and I knew about it or whatever. And I did entertain like the flirting every now and again or whatever, but nothing more. But, you know, when he finally just asked me, why do you finally look so sad? I don't know, something within me where I just wanted to like spill everything.
I was releasing all of that you kept in.
Yes. And as I'm talking to him, the more I'm thinking about it, and I'm just like, I had to ask him, I was like, I know you probably think that I'm stupid, you know, for putting myself in that type of situation. And his response was like, no, you're not stupid. He was like, you love hard, but you just ended up loving hard for the wrong person.
And women, we tend to do that. We set ourselves, we have too many high expectations for ourselves.
We do.
Especially when it comes to anything, whether it's, you know, parenting, relationships. We have those high standards, and then when we assume somebody else is thinking the same thing when actually they're not.
Exactly. So when he said that, and then he gave a further analogy, and he was just like, listen, he was like, when you go to a restaurant and you make an order, and that waiter comes back and he gives you the wrong order or whatever, and he was like, it could be something that you're allergic to or you just don't like. You mean something you're going to hold on to that meal, or you're going to send it back? And I was like, you know, I would send it back, especially if I'm allergic to whatever that's there, if I don't like. And he was just like, so why can't you send that man back?
Ooh.
When he said that, it was something as simple as that just something snapped that same day.
Yeah.
So the rest of my day at work was fine till I got home, because, you know, I'm going to do everything that I can in communication wise to get that thing across.
Yeah.
And there was something in my mind that said, you know what, I need to break up with him.
Oh.
Now I understand that, you know, I'm okay with being alone.
Yeah.
I'm okay with putting myself out there to potentially date, no matter how rusty I have been.
You knew your worth.
I knew my worth, because now this is year 7.
Oh, okay.
So from year 5 up until 7, we just have 2 years where I was trying to basically get it into your brain like something is off, like something, you know, we need to fix this, and it was like not happening on your part. I'm just like,
so
okay,
he refused, but he made it seem like what did he say? What did he say when you was breaking
you know how things will happen is like with people, like you bring something to their attention, they'll let it fix for like a couple of months and then they go back to their old selves and stuff. And it was like I didn't want to keep on having that fantasy like, oh, everything is going to be fine, everything is good, and then 2 months down the line then you change and you snap back, and then that's just playing with my emotions. I don't like when my emotions is played with. I don't think anybody wants to deal with that. But for 2 years, basically, I'm looking at it as, okay, my mom and dad are still together. My grandparents are still together. You know, I'm sure that they had to go through rougher spats than what I'm going through. They're able to make it work. So I was using them as a template. Okay, I know that they struggled in their relationship. There's going to always be a struggle in every relationship, in every friendship. I'm going to sit here and try to make it work the best of my ability. So because of the fact of that, that's what kept me pushing through for 2 years. But then after those 2 years, I'm like, why am I really here? And it was because of that comment, like, send him back. I'm like, okay, well, yeah, maybe it's time for me to send him back.
Send him back.
So even though I didn't go and have like the face-to-face conversation, I just began writing, because I'm a writer. Yeah. And I wrote him a nice little, no, it wasn't a nice, but just letting him know, like, this ain't working and I got to break up with you, that kind of thing. But I waited for him to come home, and then I handed him the letter, and he looked at me like, oh, it's another 4-page letter. Yes, it is, brother. Because, and you're going to sit here and you're going to read it. And he read it or whatever and got down to the bottom, and then he just gave me this look. It was silence for like a good 2 minutes. Uncomfortable silence for the 2 minutes. And his thing was, do you know how many girls I turned down just to be with you?
What?
Yes.
Uh-oh.
And you know my response was, go be with them then.
Bye.
Now, as much as it hurt for me to even say that, like, it hurt me so much to say it, like, it was just kind of like, okay, you don't think that in the interim that I was blocking dudes left and right on my Heisman talking about, like, nah, I have a man. Like, you know what I mean? I could have definitely been doing, or, you know, the same thing, but I did not, because of the love that I have for you. So the fact that you were just so okay to say something like that, like, you know how many girls, okay, that's great. So that means that this relationship didn't really mean much to you if you're going to throw that at me.
Just to be staying.
Right. So I just left. I picked up and I walked out and I left. And like, yes, I was upset. Yes, I was hurt. yes, I wanted to go back and say, psych, I'm just kidding, because I was comfortable, because I didn't, the idea of having to go through the whole thing of the dating phase once again, like it wasn't something that I really wanted to do. But at the same time, I had to really think about what was more important. What was more important, his happiness or my self-care, my self-love, and feeling secure about myself.
And your happiness.
And my happiness.
Your happiness.
Right.
The whole thing is you have to realize what's best for you.
Right.
Like, you've been in a relationship, you gave it time, you gave it effort, you invested, you tried to work on it and fix it, and the person, the other party, wasn't willing to do so. So it was time to go.
It was time to go. And I just felt as though that I exhausted all options here. Like, what else could I have potentially done to make sure that this would have stayed? And trust me, there's still like a couple of things that was left out in the story. And honestly, I want to save that. Like, there's definitely a part 2. I want to save that for another episode that we get into. But I'm just saying, like, sometimes it truly, like, for me, it's hard for me to ask for help. So during this 2 years of time frame where I'm like trying to figure out like what to do, I could have most definitely asked for help. But it's kind of like what we were saying from before, like, when your parents instill whatever happens in the house stays in the house, that kind of mentality. And the fact of like reaching out for help as it pertains to therapy is so considered taboo, where nowadays it's considered a norm. Nowadays you have more like self-care, self-love, self-uplifting stuff, more so now, prominent now than you did before. So
because you have to invest in love yourself.
Yes.
People always want love, and I say this all the time, but if you don't love yourself, how can you be able to thrive or even grow in that relationship?
Right, exactly.
Because everything that you're having, it like, how can I say it? It will happen. So if you come in there with your own toxicity and all this other stuff, you're going to have a toxic relationship.
Pretty much.
Point.
Pretty much.
Because you're not doing the work first.
Exactly.
And that's the thing. Everybody just so, hung up on having a relationship.
Right. But they don't know what really goes into building that relationship or crafting that relationship, or trying to craft a relationship on the things that they see on TV or from other friends and stuff like that or whatever. And I also got to take accountability for that as well. Because with me coming into this relationship, I was thinking, okay, my models were my grandparents, my mother and father, and how they're married and been together for so long. And like, I want to instill that same thing in my relationship, and maybe in a certain way, like I kind of forced that on him and didn't necessarily know. But at the same time, we both were going in this together. So in the event that he did not see it prolonging, then that could have been up to him. He was the one to take accountability and say, you know what we had was good, but I think like we're done, rather than doing the change and moving differently and stuff like that.
But he probably was also comfortable. And that's responsibility, because he probably didn't know, or whatever he was doing, we're not going to go all into it, whatever he was doing that was not right, he knew that you would still be at home waiting.
Right.
Because it's all about the control. He was controlling with the wear this, wear that, do this, do that. So he's like, okay, I know I got it at home, so I can go do me and do whatever I'm doing.
Yes.
Because I know that you won't be outside. You're
exactly.
Be in the house waiting for me.
And it wasn't just more so the controlling, it's the fact that he knew that I was dependent on him.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? If I up and transitioned myself all the way out to someplace else because of him, he automatically knew that I was dependent on him. And it wasn't until I guess he started to see that, it's not just about you.
Yep.
Like if I wanted to, I can go and explore other options of like friends and hanging out and having more of a social life. I guess that's one of the things. It was just like, okay, maybe I get it now. But at that point, it was too late, because I had already said like I'm done. I'm done. But the thing is like, my question is verifying, like, I have to ask myself, like, even after this, because this harbored on for so long, even into other relationships that I got into, like thinking, okay, I don't want a situation I haven't like that before to now get into my new relationship and like harm that in any kind of way. But it's like still something that I question is like, this is a part of the reason why I hate when, or even explaining myself to other people, because I don't want someone to be like, it couldn't have been me, or, oh, you better than me. I hate those terms.
Oh, it could have been. It could not have been me, because you know what I would have did?
Nothing.
I would have left him right there.
Yeah.
When you're lying.
Because you don't know. Because you don't know the situation. Like, you are the person on the outside in. It's not necessarily happening to you.
And that is why you really can't, and that's another thing to talk about, who and what you should be talking to when you have these relationships and these problems.
Right.
Because there are some people that are really negative, and there are some people that root for you and, provide you the guidance and support that you need.
Exactly. And that was another thing. Like within those two years of me being depressed and not knowing what to do, like I knew that I had like two best friends back home that I can call.
Mhm.
Like I knew that there was potential therapy, that I
Yeah.
could really get myself into. But again, it was like that mentality, whatever happens in the house stays in the house. And then at the same time, I didn't want to burden anybody on what I was going through.
Exactly.
Because who's to say they're not going through anything else? And like my mindset is always looking out for the other person, putting myself last. I'm a very selfless person. So it's just like I don't want to put that burden on somebody else or for them to take time out of their day to try to help me. So that's the reason why I just stayed within my little box, tried to deal with it by myself the best way I know how, and not thinking like if I would have just been like, hey, I need help, I would have been able to get out of that a lot faster, and that 2 years would have never been drawn out the way that it was. So after year 5, it could have been a call of quits at that point, rather than it extending to a year of being 3 years being unhappy. You know what I mean? So what I'm saying, like, I guess what I'm trying to say from here is like, there's nothing wrong with asking for help. You just need to know who you can get the help from. And sometimes, in itself is usually kind of hard because you don't know how people gonna react, or you don't know everybody's intentions. What you think, like what I'm having a conversation with you, if it's gonna just stay with you or it's gonna show up in somebody else's conversation.
And people are cruel.
People are cruel. And I get it. Like people like to have transparencies with their friends and family, and like if you have another friend and I'm talking to you about something and you confide in that friend about what we talked about, like okay, but then at the same time when you really think about it, it's kind of like playing like that old school telephone game where I say something to you and then somebody takes something else out of context. So it's just like I get why when you're in that mode where you don't want to reach out, or why people don't want to reach out, because they don't want to make it a large thing. Like, you know what I mean?
Or make it all about them.
Exactly.
But I think it's okay to have that group. It don't have to be a lot of people, just the group that your go-getters,
your circle
that you could talk to when you have these issues, just to, ponder off. That's fine.
Go bounce back ideas and try to make sure that you're not making, like you're making sound judgments and things like that, and doing the things the right way. So this relationship, and the reason why I wanted to talk about this one is because of the simple fact of for me, I started dating really really late in the game compared to all of my other friends, because of my parents having that short leash on me. Like I lived by the goody two shoes book, where I didn't want to do anything that would jeopardize the point my parents down my back and stuff like that. So I really didn't have that much of a social life. So when I finally did and everything was adventurous, I think that's why in the very beginning of my relationship it was so good, because it wasn't exposed to everybody.
No.
Because I couldn't expose it to everybody. Not necessarily doing it. So I can understand why people say, private life is a happier life. Yeah. Because once you get other influences involved, that's when
it turns to a whole different
thing, where this person said about this person, or this person said that, this person cheated. Like, I'm not really for the drama. I've never really been big on the drama, but at the same time, even if somebody was to say, like, I think your man is cheating on me, okay, that's fine. Till I find the evidence myself, I appreciate it. Don't tell me about anything else. Thank you for the update. Yeah. I appreciate it. But until I actually see it for myself, then, I'm going to maneuver the way that I want to maneuver.
I agree.
And I think that's where people start feeling some type of way, like, I tried to tell her and she didn't want to do it. Now she out there acting stupid. No, it's not a matter of acting stupid. It's a matter of me wanting to handle things the way that I want to handle it, because of the fact, ding, ding, it's my relationship.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So, that was the question that I wanted to find out, is like, because I'm pretty sure everybody has had to ask themselves that, like, whether or not if they're really in it because they want to be in it, or if they're in it because of the fact that they don't want to be alone. And it's shocking to hear that most people, like, even for me, like, past that 5th mark, I was only in it because I got comfortable. Because I did not necessarily want to be alone, because that was the only person that I knew, and I didn't want to have to jeopardize myself going back out there into the dating world because I was rusty.
Yeah. Did you just call yourself rusty?
I was rusty. I was in a relationship for how long? Like, I don't know how to talk to a person. What I'm supposed to do, hey, your hair is dope, and here's my number. Like, I didn't want.
Yeah, we are not aggressive females.
No,
hey, what's your name? What's your number?
Exactly. No. I'm like, but if I see something, like, if I see something that I want, I will attempt to go get it. It's not going to be like, hardcore. You know what I mean? I'm going to do it in my own way. But that's what I'm saying. Like, if you were to ask me like 4 years into the relationship, again, it was because I love this person. I saw this person in my future. But then after that, when he started acting like differently and going about it, his ways a little bit differently, that's when I was just like, I don't like this version of you.
You have a lot of patience.
I did have a lot of patience.
You have a lot of patience. Me, my patience is slim to none. I probably would have boxed upside his head a couple of times. So you're not responding to my letters. You're not giving me what I'm asking for in my letters that I wrote. Then you need to.
Pretty much. And, I wish like, this is the reasoning why I wanted to have the podcast, to where I can express myself, because this story was not really told to many people.
Oh.
I kept it to myself. And the reasoning why I was keeping it to myself, again, being selfless, is because I didn't want to shed bad light on that person. I didn't want that person to feel some type of way. But it's kind of like, the more that I'm doing that about that person, what about the all-star player that looks in the mirror each day, which is me? I need to worry about myself. And this was years ago. So, I mean, again, no, I'm not stating anybody's names, because then that gets a little bit, interesting.
Yeah, but I don't think it's, shedding bad light. It's telling your truth.
Right.
Because the whole purpose of us doing this is so that people can relate and understand, because there are a lot of people that go through it in the dating world. And like I stated, when I did my episode,
right,
I can't tell you anything about dating. I can just tell you what I'm hearing from information that I hear from other friends that are currently dating or actively dating. It's hard.
It is.
And my thing is, it's the growth. What's amazing about it is your growth from that relationship and where it took you to on your next level in journey.
Exactly.
Where you're at.
Exactly. Because now you start to get an idea from that relationship that you're in, from that one person, what you will tolerate and what you won't tolerate. So that way, when you get into the next relationship, the key is to get into your next relationship not harboring onto that baggage.
Exactly.
That's key. The second thing is to, from that relationship, get an understanding of the things that you won't tolerate, and make sure you set that precedence into the next relationship. And just be honest and open. Like, listen, the last relationship that I was in, this person did XYZ. I wasn't a fan of XYZ. So I would appreciate if you didn't do X, Y, and Z, and then everything will be fine. We'll be copacetic.
Yeah.
If you just make sure that you have that respect level for me not to do things, and then you in turn let me know what it is that you do not, tolerate, and we can be good.
It's putting your standards
out there
to what you think would work in this relationship. If you're not putting those standards, or I call them guidelines and your boundaries, then you can't get mad if it doesn't work out.
Exactly. So, 2 years is, or any amount of time is too long to be in like a depressed state, like a dark state, and feel as though that you can't really get out of it. Like, it was to the point where I didn't even realize that I was dressing in dark colors all year round.
Because you wearing black?
Black, emo, seriously. And I didn't really realize
you look good.
I mean, I got the black on today, but not that I'm depressed. But what I'm saying is,
she is just not that depressed.
I'm not depressed. But the thing is, it's like you don't understand like how your depression actually rubs off on other people. You know what I mean? Like how you feel or how you're going about, like your energy.
Oh yeah.
Can hop on to somebody else and they're looking at you like, what's wrong? And even though you're telling me, nothing is wrong, they're going to sense it, especially if they're within your circle. They're going to know. Yeah. So I guess the best thing for you to be like, listen, I'm going through something right now. I'm not in a state where I want to talk about it vocally. Exactly. Be vocal about it. But, eventually down the line, just keep me in your prayers.
Yep.
That's all that you really have to do.
And then when I talk to you, I will talk to you.
Exactly. So we just also have to understand, and then just be kind. I know there's a lot of people out there that have like really terrible attitudes, stank attitudes and stuff like that or whatever. But the thing is that no, it's not an excuse. Number one, you cannot justify having a stank attitude and think like that's going to be okay. It's not. Not at all. But at the same time, also give it, think about it a little bit. There's a reasoning why they're walking around, because maybe they're just not happy. They're just not happy. Still doesn't justify it.
No, don't come to me with that.
Don't come to her about it. Don't come to me about it. And what I'm saying is that we do need to be a little bit kinder, when it comes to things like that. But until they start going crazy and start yelling and
then we're gonna show you.
Then that's the situation. But that was just one part of my relationship, as far as with that question, because again, I feel as though this is something that we ask very often, whether or not if we're doing this because we want to, or because of the fact that we're being coerced in a way, to be a part of that, or be in those relationships, or be in those friendships, because again, it can happen in any walk of your life.
So with this experience, because which was very good, and it gives a different dynamic how we did mine and yours. Were you, through that situation, because you said you didn't have a relationship, were you able to find love, and how were you able to find love? You don't have to go too in depth for it, but how was you able to find love based on that experience? Because for me, I'll be like, listen, I'm not dealing with nobody. I'ma do me, live my best life, and that's it. And then maybe I'll go back on the scene.
Right. And honestly, what it goes back to is just basically having the self-love for yourself. And in that, it took me a very long time. Like, I want to say up until recently, because these things don't happen overnight. It's not quick. You just need to examine yourself and realize like what it is that you want. Not to say to have a high standard.
Of course.
You know what I mean? Because, when you have high standards in certain areas, it doesn't always work out the best.
No.
Like, you may actually obtain what you're looking for, but doesn't actually stay for long term.
Exactly.
And from what I've seen, it does not. As in a relationship, because again, when we're thinking of relationships, we're thinking of friendships, anything with the ships.
Yep.
At the end, it's not just one person making it work; it's several people or
Exactly.
two people trying to make it work. So, I think what it is for me, the way that I was able to find love, is having that full, complete love for myself, understanding that. What I'm able to deal with, like, of course, there's going to be certain things about the person that I don't necessarily like or mess with, but at the same time, could that make or break my relationship? Could that make or break my happiness? And if it couldn't break it, then okay, fine, we'll work at it as it comes. But if there was like just something there, like you're a person that don't like to talk, then guess what? We're not going to work.
Yeah.
Because if you're unable to talk, then that means that you're not one to have, communication. I need communication.
Yeah.
We all need some kind of communication.
And some common interests. We
Common
have common
interests.
interests. We don't got nothing in common.
Then it's not working out. So, just those main key factors, as long as, we have something in common, and then I have an understanding about, what I need from others, and making sure that I'm good with my happiness, because my happiness is going to come first. Like, as much as we want to say, we want to make sure that both parties are happy.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, we want to make sure that we are happy, but happy and doing it in a selfless way.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I guess that's exactly how, I was able to find the love that I have now. My love is not perfect. It's not, by a long shot. But at the same time, for me, he gives me the love languages that I need, and vice versa. So, but yeah.
Always complain about your love languages.
Definitely. That's another topic that we'll touch on.
Stay tuned.
Another topic, but that was pretty much it for that situation. Again, there's a part 2.
So we be back. That means she's giving me the look. That means that we'll be coming back to talk more about it.
Yes.
But definitely, I love everything that you gave, because if you don't know Shenequa always gonna pose a question about something before she's in the and I just come out there and be like, But definitely, we just hope you enjoyed this part 2. I've been waiting for it, and been waiting for my girl to share her story. I already knew it, but I just love hearing it. And it's amazing because we share with you the growth. And that's the main thing, the growth. And it's okay. I will say this, like we said, we're not experts. We're just sharing our experiences with you. And we hope, my thing is, I love when people find love. When you find love and find the person that gets you,
right?
That's all that matters. I always say that. You're going to find that special somebody that gets you. And Shenequa has it, I have it, so definitely. But it takes work. And I think that's the key factor that everybody forgets, the work.
Right.
They think that, okay, I see, like I talked about last time, everything on TV or in the magazines, and this is what I want. But it takes work. And please, set your standards. Set the boundaries that are appropriate. Not saying that we want you to have like this long laundry list.
No.
Because that ain't working. I'm telling you that first.
Right.
It does not work.
And if I can say anything about what I just explained to you guys today, in that question, make sure it is because of the fact that you generally love the person and that you see a future with them. Do not stay with a person just because of the fact that you are comfortable.
Yes.
Because that will never work out. Because at the end of the day, the only person that's going to be unhappy is you.
Yes.
It's you. You cannot stay in something because of the fact of you being comfortable. Do not get complacent with the fact of being comfortable with a person that you don't see a future with. So, that's really...
That's another topic.
That's another...
That's another topic. You got me going about people that... Ooh, okay. So we giving too much.
In that, we're going to say stay tuned, because there's definitely part 2s to that. There's part 2s to hers, and going on, so on and so forth. But I'm good with this episode.
So am I, girl. So am I. And we hope you enjoyed it. As always, thank you so much for listening to us. Always remember that we are on all streaming services.
Yes,
I love to remind y'all, because that's what I'm going to do. We are on YouTube, where, like I said, you get to see us. I always say YouTube first, because we want you to see us. Like, to see us.
The video.
See us, to see the video.
Our mannerisms, because it's a little different. It's interesting, like this one.
To see our reactions and, hand movements, stuff like that. But we also, for my listening that just want to listen and don't see, we are on, all other streaming services such as Apple, Spotify, Google. So definitely. So like I said, we thank you again, and make sure you are listening to us. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram if you're not already following us on Instagram, and always tell somebody. So pass it along.
Yes.
So somebody can hear.
And can we say shout out to our new ringers, because we don't call you followers, we call you ringers. So far, we have 330. Shout out to you guys for actually, following and stuff like that. We appreciate it. Again, we see every like, we see every comment, we see every DM, and
we interact.
We interact. We want to make sure that we are interacting with you, because the worst thing that you could do is follow a page that's not giving you the same engagement that you're giving them. So we want to make sure we are reciprocating. So please share, tell a friend, and if you're on YouTube, please view, subscribe, all of that,
everything. And we have a lot of stuff in the works.
Yes, we do.
So we're definitely appreciative about the following. So I have like a special surprise. I'm not gonna say it yet, but it's based on following. So definitely keep telling people to follow us on all our streaming networks.
Yes.
So I guess until next week, right?
We are So With This Ring. Have a good one, guys, and we'll see you next time, Wednesday at 8 p.m. See you. Hi, this is Shenequa, and you're listening to So With This Ring.